Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for the Come Back Stronger Fund. As you can see, we put up a couple of instructions for everyone as we get started here. Just remember that you can ask questions in the questions box as we go along, and that we will be looking to answer those towards the end of our program here today, and that all attendees will stay muted throughout in order for us to have wonderful sound quality. You can always view this webinar. It's going to be recorded and will be posted on the Come Back Stronger Fund website within 24 hours. So we are gathered here and very excited to be talking with some of our awardees today and some strong partners across our state around the topic of mental health. So excited to have you guys all on, and we're going to jump right into what we're going to be discussing today. So on the agenda for us today, we are going to give a summary of the Come Back Stronger Fund awards that have gone out in our state. Some very exciting news going out today for our awardees that are notified for our fourth round. And then we're going to dive right into the support type that has had the most conversation and the most questions from any of our applicants for the Come Back Stronger Fund. And that is around the idea of mental health. And we at Early Learning Indiana, because we've had so many questions around concerns and thoughts around mental health, thought it would be a good idea to focus specifically on that one today in order to help the providers understand what you can be doing with your Come Back Stronger funds and with partners in your community to ensure that your children, your families, and your staff are supported during this time. After we go through some of our spotlights on mental health, we're going to talk about some additional opportunities for support with the Come Back Stronger Fund. And then, as always, round out with a Q&A. So I'm really excited to be here today. For those who were not with us on our previous webinars, I am Natalie Brake, and I serve at Early Learning Indiana. And one of the most exciting things I've gotten to work on in my career has been this Come Back Stronger Fund. It has been an amazing process over the last 4 weeks, and we have gotten amazing results from it. So I have to share that as of today, we will have given out and awarded $7.6 million to early learning providers across the state of Indiana. That is over half of the Come Back Stronger Fund. So for those of you who've been able to get your applications in and have been awarded, congratulations. Congratulations to our round 4 awardees who were notified earlier today. And for those of you who have not gotten your applications in, I did just say that we are halfway through giving out our funds. So you need to get your application in if you are an eligible provider, so you have the opportunity to be one of the awardees who are using the Come Back Stronger funds to ensure that you are operating according to the new safety recommendations. To put it into perspective for you, that $7.6 million has gone out to 557 individual sites around Indiana where there are high quality providers caring for children. And that means that we have reinforced over 25,000 seats, almost 26,000 seats. Each of those seats being an opportunity where an early learner is able to engage in a positive, appropriately developmental relationship with an early learning provider. All of those are families that feel assured that they can work while their child is in a safe and caring environment. We like to look at the big numbers, but we also like to scale it down to those very individual small moments that every single one of those seats is a child. As a parent myself, and as many of our providers and parents out there, you understand the impact that a single seat can make, a single opportunity can make for a child. So we're excited to support these providers, but we are also really, really excited to be able to support the families and the children as they're going through this. A quick reminder here too, if you are not one of the providers that has already been awarded one of our strong Come Back Stronger awards, if you have not completed your application, please get that in. We have so much that we can do together. You can email us at stronger@earlylearningindiana.org. You can reach out to us, and we're going to be announcing as we talk later about opportunities, a new opportunity for you to engage with us as we have some additional what we're calling virtual office hours to ask questions and to be sure that you as a provider can know that you have the best application put forward and have the most likely chance to be funded if you are eligible. So for those of you who have not applied yet, just a reminder what the Come Back Stronger Fund is. The Come Back Stronger Fund is designed to reinforce Indiana's supply of high quality early learning opportunities and to support providers across our state who are committed to serving vulnerable family populations. Those are those family populations that are living in households at 200% or below of the federal poverty level. And these grants will help offset the new expenses that are incurred by providers to safely operate and continue delivering early learning experiences due to the pandemic. So these grants range from $2,000 up to $40,000 depending on the enrollment of your location as of March 1st, as well as depending on the percentage of children served as of March 1st that were on CCDF or On My Way Pre-K. We know that these funds are crucial for early learning providers who are looking to reopen or to get their enrollment back to pre-COVID standards, and we want to ensure that the funds get out the door. I'm very excited to say that our grant team has taken a really aggressive approach to ensuring that those that are awarded get the funds in their hands as soon as possible. We say that we've awarded that $7.6 million, and we need those funds to be in the hands of childcare providers so that they're able to use the funds appropriately to ensure safety for children during our current time. When you're awarded and with these funds, there are many things that you can do to help support your program in offering these safe and effective services. So we talked about the type of supports that there are that you can do. These grants are intended to help providers safely and effectively either continue or resume operations and adapt to the COVID-19 challenges. I know we've said this before on our webinars, but just so that you're sure, that means we need you to be enhancing sanitation practices, altering key aspects of your physical environments to support social distancing, which we know is a challenge when it comes to early childhood. Adapting new staffing models that are going to minimize exposure. So these will differ from staffing models that you had last year, but we need to know that your staffing model supports safety now. And expanding to serve more children, possibly in response to a depletion in community supply. If now is the right time for your program to expand, these funds can be used to help you do that. One of the easiest things and the most common things that we're seeing that these funds can be used for is investing in those personal sets of materials and toys to limit that cross-contamination among children while maintaining an environment that still stimulates child development. We want our sites to be safe, but also high quality. If you are concerned at all about what types of things you could be using these supports for, or if you're a provider who knows that you want to be reopening and doing it in the best way possible, there are some wonderful new resources available to you to help families, providers, and partners across the state of Indiana understand what childcare looks like in a COVID-19 environment. So we are really excited to share, and there's been a webinar already this week, a campaign for family and providers that contains resources that are going to explain the new safety recommendations for childcare. So for families, these resources include things such as a checklist to make sure that your family is ready to go back to care, and also questions to ask your provider to make sure they're ready and have safety procedures in place for your child to be in care. For providers, these resources include what you see there in the middle, the delivering care in a delivering care in a COVID-19 environment, which is a guide for early care and education programs. And that includes resources and information for childcare providers to both understand and implement the new recommendations. So there's resources in there for the providers to use. We're really excited that these pieces of materials, these assets are coming out right now, because now is the time when providers are looking to reopen and to get back to that pre-COVID enrollment. So there are currently 3 sites that are available with this information tailored to different audiences. So the same information, but getting the messages individually to the people who need it the most. So you'll see on the left, there's a site for families that are going to have those resources such as that checklist that are going to help families understand what they should be looking for and how they should be communicating to their provider as they get back to work. For the providers, the site is going to have the resources such as those checklists we talked about. There's also a supply list of health and safety items, all of which you could use your Come Back Stronger Fund to get. We really want to promote and help people to understand that these new recommendations are exactly what the Come Back Stronger Fund is intended to support within our communities. And if you are an early learning stakeholder, you can use resources on our partner site to help share and promote to the families and providers these resources and these assets that they can be using to communicate with each other and make sure that everybody in Indiana gets back to work and that we have safe childcare environments to serve our families. If you have not yet applied for the Come Back Stronger Fund and you are looking for ideas, these resources are a wonderful idea generating piece for you to look at and to know what you could possibly use your Come Back Stronger funds to do. So one of the areas of support that we have talked about a little bit with our Come Back Stronger funds, and we're very excited to hone in on today, are the professional services. What this means is services where you can invest in a reopening planning effort, so that communication to the families that we talked about that's in these new guides, you can use your Come Back Stronger funds to support that communication. Also to support family communication around those safety practices and what you're doing to ensure health and safety every day in your programs that may look different than it did previously. And then you can also use the professional services to support mental health, be that for your staff, your children, or your families. So I am incredibly excited to welcome on a few guests today to give us their expertise, to lend us their experiences, and to give suggestions to early learning providers, whether you've been funded through the Come Back Stronger Fund or you're waiting to apply and getting your application in as soon as you can. They have ideas that they can share with you on how you can support mental health right now in your programs. So I'd like to start with our first guest that we're going to have come on. And I'm actually going to invite two guests on because they come together. So if I could have Sarah and Becky join me from Infancy Onward. All right, good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. I have to tell you guys, I am so excited about Sarah and Becky being able to join us today to talk about mental health in Indiana. I will tell you ladies, this has been the topic that we have been getting when it comes to our Come Back Stronger Fund applications. We know that there are so many programs out there that are concerned about the mental health of their children and their staff and their families right now. So I am going to ask a couple of questions, and we're going to share some information about Infancy Onward that we can help give them some ideas. So I'd first like to just start with, what does Infancy Onward do in Indiana? Who are you guys?
So Infancy Onward is a subsidiary organization of Mental Health America of Indiana. That just means we are under their umbrella. We were founded in the year 2000, and we are primarily focused on workforce development in Indiana. So we offer training and the endorsement for anyone in the state of Indiana that's working with or on behalf of children ages 0 to 6. Having the endorsement actually makes us part of the Alliance for the Advancement of Infant Mental Health, which is an international organization composed of 31 states and 3 different countries currently that all use the same endorsement system. So it's really cool to have the endorsement recognized so widely across our nation and in a few other countries, including Ireland and Western Australia. So yeah, that's who we are.
So I think it's safe to say you guys are definitely experts when it comes to mental health and early childhood. Why would you say then that mental health is so important for us to consider when we consider early childhood? How do those two go together?
Well, let's see. So brain science confirms that the sooner support can be provided to ensure that very young children are being attended to in ways that promote their social and emotional development and relational health, the better for them and their families, and really for all of us. If a baby is attended to with warm, responsive, and consistent care, that baby will be a healthier toddler and preschooler who later enters school and adulthood with better chance at success. So, you know, a lot of people don't really realize that a child's mental health begins to develop in infancy. Actually, babies remember their earliest relationship experience, and these experiences become the prototypes for their future relationships, influencing their trust of themselves, of others, and really of the world. So it has a huge impact on their future relationships through friendship, romantic relationships, work relationships, So not having a secure attachment relationship from a young age to whoever that person is, whether it's a parent, grandparent, caregiver, whoever, can really cause problems later in life, and greatly increases the chances of someone developing depression, anxiety, or another mental health problem as an adult.
So it's really, I love hearing you say that it, you know, it really all does start very appropriately named from infancy onward. I mean, that there is so much that goes on. I think as providers and caregivers, I know that many of our guests today understand how important it is to have a healthy start to life. And that includes mental health. So it's great to know that there are organizations such as yours that are supporting this. What would you guys say then, because we are looking to an audience of primarily childcare providers, what is a childcare provider's role in supporting those healthy relationships for young children? And I want to say this especially with right now, the conversation that we're having with families returning to work and children returning to early learning programs. What can those providers be doing now to support that mental health of their students that are coming?
I think that's a great question. I think, you know, it's in a lot of people's minds right now. What can I do? We know it's going to be rough. If you're not already open or you just opened right now, you know, you're going to see a lot of temper tantrums. We're going to see some meltdowns of children with special needs. You know, we have to remember that our children have been home with somebody, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, anybody, and they're not ready to come back necessarily. So they're going to have some trouble. So our idea is now to really start thinking about that. The most important thing we can do is build relationships, period. So as if we're sitting there really trying to think of how do I build a relationship with each child in my care, you know, we really want to think about what I can do. Because if I can do it beforehand, I really can start thinking about it, being consciously aware of the things I can do, then it will be a smoother transition. We do have to remember, honestly, you know, there are going to be temper tantrums. There are going to be meltdowns. It's how we as adults deal with it. And so am I going to get upset and lose my cool, or am I going to take my own deep breaths and, you know, think about my own mental health, where these kids are not purposely trying to be mean to us. They're having a hard time just like we are. We don't always want to go to work. So just remembering that, you know, it's the same thing for them. So really taking that deep breath for yourself and saying, okay, I'm going to make this a good day. I'm going to think about it. Okay. You know, and really opening your eyes and saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do it correctly. If you are in a place that you have a co-teacher or something like that, that's always really helpful to sit down together and have that conversation of what are we going to do and who's in charge of what. You know, it flows much better if I know that maybe I am in charge of taking care of when Bobby has his meltdown and you take care of Susie when she has hers, or things like that. You know, just working together as a team really helps our mental health, which then will help our children's, because we know it is going to be a rough transition. But as long as we are aware that building, you know, relationships is the most important thing, that's what we can start really thinking about.
I love what you said there about the relationships being key, and just also about, you know, what we're used to right now. And I can be one of the first to admit, even though my children are not in the early childhood range anymore, our screen time standards got a little, well, okay, a bit lax during this time in order for us to function. You know, when you have home and school and work is all now in the same room, you do what you can to have your relationships be intact, but to have everybody make success in that moment. So understanding that the situations may not have been as optimal when you're coming back in, if that's what the typical has been, let's give some time and some supports to adjust to that.
I think, you know, all parents are genuinely trying to do their best. And that's what we had to remember is in this time, you as a parent or you as a teacher are trying to do your best. So, you know, it might not have looked perfect, but it's what worked for us and our families. So really thinking about, you know, things have changed in the last few months. So, you know, giving our babies time to adjust also.
I love the other piece that you said there, and I want to make sure to highlight it just so that this is, you know, really clearly given, because it does relate exactly back to what we're talking about with the Come Back Stronger Fund. Is you mentioned having a plan, is, you know, getting your staff together and talking about what do we want to do around this. those are things the Come Back Stronger Fund can support. So for those out there who are some of our awardees or who will be awarded in the next few weeks as we continue to give out these funds, you can use professional services, you can use organizations to help make those plans. This is not something that providers have to take on all on their own, but the responsibility of saying we need a plan, we want to have a plan, we want to do something the best that we can for our families, our children, that is a first step that the providers can take. So that was really a great suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would love to know, on behalf of the childcare providers who might be watching, how can they learn more about what Infancy Onward does? And can you explain a little bit more about some of the really amazing upcoming opportunities? I'm actually going to switch your slide so we can see your upcoming opportunities that you guys have for childcare providers in Indiana.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to learn more about us, you can go to our website, which is infancyonward.org. You can also check out our Facebook page. That's where you get the most up-to-date information, which is just facebook.com/infancyonward. Those are the best ways to keep in contact with us and see what's going on with us. You're also just welcome to reach out to Sarah or I personally. So you can just send a message on Facebook. There's a contact us form on our website, and those are just emails that are sent directly to me or Sarah, depending. Those are just the best ways to get in touch with us and learn more about us. There's a lot of information about endorsement on our website. We have a page, an endorsement page, where there's a lot of documents you can download, links to other websites, and things like that. And then again, if there's anything about endorsement that you can't seem to find there, you are welcome to just get in touch with me, and I can help you through that. If you would like to get involved in any way with Infancy Onward, we are having our annual conference coming up on August 6th and 7th. This is our 20th anniversary, so it's a big deal. And we are having a 2-day event this year for the first time ever to recognize our anniversary, and also because we have recently purchased the additional endorsement license, which allows us to endorse providers working with or on behalf of children ages 3 to 6. So we have one day specific to infant mental health at our conference, and the second day is specific to early childhood mental health, all with the same topic, which is trauma. So that's a great way to come and learn more about us and just to kind of network with us. Many of our board members will be there, as well as Sarah and I, obviously online. We'll see you all there.
It is completely virtual.
Also another way to provide support, I guess, to childcare providers as children are starting to return to school after COVID. We have some online reflective supervision groups that are forming, and they are completely free to join. So we have funds in our current contract from the office to support that. So that's just a great way for providers to kind of get some time to kind of air everything out, as if they're dealing with lots of behaviors and things from kids. It's just a safe place to share those things and kind of get some feedback about maybe best ways to handle those things and how to kind of process your own emotions around the work that you're doing. So if you're interested in participating in a reflective supervision group, please just email me. My email is BeckyG, BECKYGEE @mhai.net. And I will type that into the questions as well, so you have my email address. Also, if you're interested in participating on our advisory council or on a committee or action team, as we like to say, please contact Sarah, and I will post her email address as well in the questions. So there's lots of great ways to get involved and learn more.
Excellent. I love those ideas, and I would like to make a major push to everybody who is attending or who views this webinar for this conference or to sign up for the reflective supervision groups. As you mentioned, it's more important, it's always important, but even more so now than ever, that the staff and that our teachers get what they need in order to support the children and the families as they enter back into classrooms. So these are two amazing opportunities, one that is, you said, completely free, and one that does have a cost. However, that is the kind of thing that your professional services piece from your Come Back Stronger funds could fund for your staff to do in order to get these kind of trainings and to get these kind of supports so that everyone is supporting really, really enriching environments for the children. Wonderful. Well, we will share those resources and get those connections back to you. But Becky and Sarah, thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us today a little bit more about Infancy Onward and the amazing ways that providers can connect with you guys to support their children and families.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I would love to invite on now our next guests. As we talked about, it's one thing to talk about providers in general needing supports or wanting to seek out supports, but we'd like to invite on now one of our Come Back Stronger Fund awardees from Child Care Network, who has been awarded for multiple locations. And one of the things they're looking to do is to engage around mental health. So Kate, if you would want to join me, we have a couple of questions for you. Hi, Kate. All right.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to
now. Sorry.
It always is. I always have problems with the mute button when I first get on. I'm going to switch to the more interesting slide because as much as I love where you're located, I like this one so much better. So, Kate, can you tell us a little bit about Child Care Network? Tell us about your program, and with that, some of the struggles that you faced with operations due to this pandemic.
So Child Care Network is a nonprofit here in Seymour, Indiana, but we serve all of Jackson County. And we started about 30 years ago when a community survey came about that there needed to be a latchkey program. So there needed to be some place for kids to go before and after school besides just home by themselves. And so that's how the agency started, and we still run that program today. And so we have our Kids Club program, which is before and after school. We have that at 7 elementary schools within the county. And then we also provide all day care during the summer. So then another program that we have is our preschool program. And so that is designed for the year right before kindergarten. And so we are also an On My Way pre-K provider. And so we have classrooms at 4 elementary schools throughout the county as well. And then our other program that we run is called the CASA program. And for those of you that aren't aware of that, it's Court Appointed Special Advocate. And so we staff along with volunteers, provide a voice for kiddos that have been abused and neglected in the court system. And so, that's kind of a synopsis of what we do. And so in March, when the world kind of shut down, our school age program and our preschool programs operate within elementary schools. We do not have buildings. And so schools shut down, and so therefore we had to shut down. We were not able to operate. And that was really hard because we knew there were so many families that needed care and we couldn't do anything about it. Actually, the mayor of Seymour said that I should be the go-to person for people to talk to about childcare. And I was like, but I can talk to you about it, but I can't actually do anything. And so it was frustrating. We had one business in town that is a pharmaceutical company. And so they were essential. They had 150 families that needed childcare and we couldn't do anything about it. So that was kind of our struggles. So we are now looking into getting our own buildings so that we'll still be in the schools, but we can still operate and expand our services. And so we are up and running now at 2 local churches, allowed us to operate our school age program throughout the summer in their building. So that's been really good.
Well, I have the feeling that your struggles and what you're expressing are ones that resonate with a lot of our providers across the state. And it is something that I love the approach that you guys are taking, both to say, well, what do we need to operate in the near future, but what do we need to shift in our planning so that if something like this happens again, we're able to ensure as much as possible that we have continuity of care for our children. We have the ability for them to be in safe places while essential workers are still going to their jobs. So I commend you for taking that approach to it, both now and the future, for your childcare. And I'm sure your families appreciate it as well. So one of the key parts that you shared in your application is the plan to use a local mental health organization to support your children in your program. What we really want to know is why is that so important for your program? Why was that part of your plan?
I think preschool is a time where that's important no matter what. That's when we're learning to identify our feelings. How do we handle that? How do we make good choices when we're mad? Things like that. It's such a crucial time for that anyway. And then you throw COVID into it, where me as an adult have no idea what's going on and sometimes just want to hide in my room. So I can only imagine what is going through the 4-year-old's brains at this point. So when this grant funding came out and I was reading some of the allowable things and saw that mental health support was one of them, we've partnered for years. I've been in this position for 5 years, and I know it was well before I came with Mental Health America of Jackson County. They have come into each of our preschool classrooms throughout the year, a couple times a year, and talked about how important they are as a person and self-esteem and things like that. And that has always been a great partnership. So when I read that in the grant, that was allowable funding, I went to Melanie and I said, hey, what can we do to further support these kiddos? And so we came up with that proposal to just really increase the amount of time that she's in there. My staff does a great job of supporting our students and doing what they need, but we all know that children listen to guest speakers and new people a lot better. They just love having people come into that classroom. They see us all the time. So just increasing that time that Melanie can come in and do these great activities with them was kind of what we were looking to do. Yeah, so we were able to just come up with this and make it work. So
I love that you say that. I've been a guest in preschool classrooms, and that's always very exciting for me too. But I love it when I get to visit our own centers and go into some of them, the experiences I've had where they want to tell you everything, all their thoughts, every thought they've had that day, and they're so excited about it and show you their classroom. And it's an amazing feeling as a guest to have that interaction. And I love that you're taking that excitement and that experience and using it as a way to help develop some of these skills. So I do want to ask to see, so you're planning on bringing this partner in for more times. What are the outcomes that you're expecting by bringing in this type of support for the children, the families, and the staff, for everyone? What do you think you're going to see?
One of the first things that Melanie and I talked about is that we don't want this to necessarily be COVID focused. I didn't really want her to come in and talk about, okay, so tell me about when we were on quarantine and how did you feel? Mm-hmm. If the kiddos need to talk about that, then yes, she will address that. But I want to make sure that they are learning the coping skills and things that they need to use in any situation, because unfortunately they're going to have other times when they have to deal with these emotions and feeling unknown and not knowing what's going on. So I want to make sure that these experiences and the things that they're learning are transferable from situation to situation. So Melanie and I've talked about, she will address it. If they want to say, hey, I was stuck at home with mom, I was bored, it made me mad at my brother and I punched him. I mean, whatever they need to talk about, we will address it. But I didn't want it to just be COVID specific, because I want them to be able to take it with them and use it in their toolbox. So we just want to increase the kids' emotional health, but then also I want to be able to support my staff. So Melanie and I have already talked about, she is trying to create different activities that the teachers can use in the classrooms to continue that support, how we can make that classroom environment more inviting and more calming. I know my anxiety gets up sometimes, and so we want to make sure that those classrooms are inviting for calm and have safe places that they can not vent, but get their feelings out and know that it's okay. So I feel like partnering with Melanie even more than we have in the past will help not only the kids, but also the staff as well.
I think it's so telling as a director, your viewpoint that you're looking at this so comprehensively, that it's, you know, it's intentional. We're bringing in supports because we want to ensure that our children have the ability to process, but we're also supporting the staff so that they feel that they can make the changes and implement these changes on a daily basis in order to support the children. It really does impact everybody that you guys work with when you have these kind of supports. So I definitely applaud you. It was one of the things that when Early Learning Indiana saw your guys' application stood out to us because we noted the intentionality with that. So I would definitely applaud you for deciding to do this for your staff, but also for the families and the children that you guys impact and will impact every single day as you reopen.
Thank you.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for coming on to talk to us. And I am excited to share that our next guest is actually Melanie, who does the program at your site. So I would love to invite Melanie to come on and join us now.
Hello.
Hi, hello, Melanie. So nice to see you this afternoon. So that was wonderful to hear from Kate about what you're doing with their program. And so as you guys can see from the screen, this is Melanie from Mental Health of America of Jackson County. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other guys. I'm going to show your information, but now I'm going to jump to the screen that has these amazing pictures that you guys provided of this program in action in the classroom. So before we get into that, can you just tell me a little bit about Mental Health America of Jackson County and the types of services that your organization offers to your community?
Sure. I've been the director for almost 2.5 years, but our organization was founded in 1954, so it's been around for quite a while. In a nutshell, we do a variety of things. We provide mental health materials, brochures to every middle school and high school in Jackson County, not only for the students, but also for the faculty, the families. So the students have something paper that they could pick up on their own if they're feeling depressed, if they're feeling anxious. I know we live in a digital world, but we have restocked those paper brochures since 2018. It was nice to meet Becky G here online because she actually awarded a grant to Mental Health America of Jackson County to help me restock those mental health brochures in 2019. So that is one thing that we do. We, of course, do the I'm Somebody special program that I will talk more about here in just a few moments. We also hold social events 4 times a year for any age individual that has mental health diagnosis. So anyone of any age that has mental health diagnosis can attend fun, safe, appropriate, and non-judgmental events throughout our community. They are all free. We play games, we have prizes, we always have food, of course, right? So we're not sure what's going to happen with those events because of COVID-19. We haven't been able to meet since then. So, you know, I'm concerned about our clients that we normally reach because they're shut in just like the rest of us. And most of my clients have compromised immune systems. So, you know, what does the future look like for us for our social events? Not really sure. But if I could just rewind back to the beginning of 2018, I actually met with some other Mental Health America affiliates here in Indiana just to kind of get my feet wet. And the topic, though, was our program, I'm Somebody Special, which is why I'm here today. I wanted to know what other affiliates were doing, who they were serving, what their programming looked like, because I was the new girl on the block, right? I needed to know what everyone else was doing. So I drove up northwest of Indianapolis and met with some affiliates there. And really what I found is that most of the other affiliates served older children. So the typical age was 3rd and 4th graders. And so I came back to my board of directors and I said, are you guys sure that you're reaching the right age? Because, you know, we've been focusing on preschool age children here. And my board of directors said, this is what we've always done. We feel that it's the most critical age to be reaching. So that's what we have done the past 2.5 years. So throughout that time, I have gotten to work with Purdue Extension, the local office here in Brownstown, Indiana, Jackson County. And I learned of a documentary film called Reject. And the film has to be shown through Purdue Extension. And it is an evidence-based documentary film about social rejection, about suicide. It is a very heavy, deep film, but it is something that is very much needed to be talked about in our community. That class does offer continuing education hours, so participants can get some of their education hours through that. But really the eye-opener for me, the first time I watched that film, is that the evidence-based portion of it is centered around preschool age children and patterns, habits that are learned when they are young. So I went back to my board meeting and said, oh my gosh, you guys were so right, because this isn't just someone's opinion. This is evidence-based, and we are reaching the right age, because what children learn at those young, tender ages, 3 and 4, 4 and 5-year-old classrooms, it sticks with them throughout life. I've seen the film probably 12 to 15 times now, and there's usually something different that jumps out at me each time I watch it. So I'll just go ahead and explain our I'm Thumb Body Special program.
Yes, please do.
So as you can see on the slide, the poster on the bottom, it says each child is Thumb Body Special. And that's our little I'm Thumb Body Special character. It's made from a thumbprint. And we take that poster into each classroom the beginning of the school year. And as you can see to the right of that, you see a child getting their thumbprint. They get to choose the color of ink. So every child's thumbprint goes on that poster, and it stays in the classroom for this entire school year. And so we just talk to the kids that everyone is different, just like their thumbprint. There are no two people alike, and therefore our emotions are not the same. How we process things are not always the same. Our skin color is not the same, just like our hair and our eyes. But that's how we were created, and we are unique. And so our feelings are unique also. And so we just talk to them about respecting other people's feelings. It may not be the same as yours, but that's okay, because just like my hair is different than your hair, each one of us is different, but we are unique. And so we hang that poster up just to remind them that just as their thumbprint is different, so are our emotions and how we handle things. On that slide also, you can see a small thumb body. Each child actually gets to take one of those home with them, just as a visual reminder at home, so that if they have a disagreement at home, that they can remember that we're all different. But on the large poster that we leave in the classroom, before I leave on that first day, we actually put a Band-Aid on the heart of Mr. I'm Thumb Body, because sometimes we get boo-boos. And it affects, just like if I fall down and get a scrape, I put a boo-boo on to help heal. Sometimes those words cause boo-boos for us, and they're mental boo-boos or they're emotional boo-boos. And so it's just a good reminder that what we say to people, how we react to people, it hurts. And so that's one thing that we do. You'll also see on there a new bingo card. It's an emotions bingo. I have lots of prizes that children can receive prizes when they play bingo, but it's not just bingo. Each card that is drawn talks about a different emotion and how those emotions make us feel. And so we will talk to the kids, explain to them that it's okay to be happy. Of course, we all love to be happy, but sometimes we feel sad or frustrated or mad or angry. And all those are perfectly normal feelings, but how do we process those? How do we deal with those? And what is the healthiest way to handle those tough situations? And of course, that is to find an adult that you can trust, or a parent, a family member, someone at school, and not just blow off the handle, right? Because that's when we damage those relationships. Let's see, also on this slide, you see the green teddy bear, and that is Kelly Bear. Kelly Bear is new to us in 2019. It is somewhat of a dated program, and if you watch any of the, you can go to YouTube actually to preview some of those. They are not new, they're not high tech, but they are reality. And it's about conflict resolution. Kelly Bear teaches kids how to communicate, how to resolve those differences. It gives kids a perspective from a big green teddy bear, not an adult, not a teacher. It's someone that they can trust. And so the smaller bears that you see that are the Thai Beanie Babies, that's the closest thing that I could get. Kelly Bear is in each classroom. So we leave a little green teddy bear in each classroom, again, for a visual reminder. And we also have left a CD. Throughout the DVD series, Kelly Bear sings and he dances, and there's also a CD with all of those songs. Talks about making good choices, good behaviors. And so, again, this partnership with Child Care Network, in 2018, 2019, we've just continued to add tools to help Kate staff with the kiddos. They're the ones that are in there every day. And so when Kate came to me with this grant opportunity, you know, we've already been going in and serving for many years, but the question is, can I go in more often? And so that's what some of these grant dollars will help me do, is just to be able to go in, provide more man hours in the classroom, more activities, more fun, because learning can be fun if it's the right atmosphere. I have board members that help me. Carolyn Bruce is pictured there in one of the photographs. I have 2 other volunteer board members that have reached out to me that are eager to help out this next school year. So it is hugely rewarding for me. I love the kids. They love Kelly Bear. They love Thumbody. And it's just something small that we can do to help improve the mental health of our community, not only today, but these kids are going to grow up and they are going to be my age here in just a few decades, right? And we're just wanting to help them learn the right way to process their feelings, the healthy way.
Melanie, I love what you said there, because it really is about creating healthy communities. I mean, it's an impact that it has on these children, but you're speaking to the impact that it has on the staff there and the impact that it has on Kate, but also the impact that it has on your volunteers and then the community. And generally, I mean, it just ripples out into all of these pieces. Very excited to hear the types of programs that you're able to bring in there, but just how valued you see these interactions because of the outcomes that they give and the outcomes that they stretch. I would love to ask you, I mean, obviously this program is wonderful and this program can serve Kate's program very well, and Child Care Network's going to be using you guys, but I don't live in Jackson County, and I'm sure that many of our other providers don't. If they do live in Jackson County, I know who to tell them to go talk to. But what suggestions would you have for the other providers that live outside of there to help meet some of the needs for their children, families, and staff right now?
Well, the first thing is check and see if there's a Mental Health America affiliate in their county or a surrounding county, and see if there can be some collaboration with an existing organization so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there isn't, then I would contact Mental Health America of Indiana and see what can be done to get a new affiliate started, because COVID-19 or whatever is next, mental health is obviously a concern for all of us in day-to-day life, let alone a pandemic that's going on. So I would just encourage participants to reach out to a Mental Health America affiliate and see if there's one that already exists or one that can be created. The second thing I would encourage participants to do is to partner with Purdue Extension and get that reject film, get it showing in your community. I think every person that's alive should see the Reject documentary. If you work with children or don't work with children, it will make you stop and think about how you respond to people, how you talk to them. I think everyone should see it. So those would be the top 2 things that I would recommend. I'm willing to help out as much as I can. I work part-time for Mental Health America. I work the other part-time hours for the ARC of Jackson County. I'm the only employee for the 2 organizations, but I would be willing to help out as much as I can within the limits that I have to share the knowledge. It really doesn't take a whole lot to make a difference.
I love to hear you say that. There's such passion there, and you're right. It doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes the intentionality. And one of the things that I think is great about the Come Back Stronger Fund is that we want it to be adaptable to the needs of programs. So for any of our grantees out there, anybody we've already awarded, if you didn't initially have mental health as one area that you were going to spend funds towards, you can adapt that plan and you can include that in there. So I thank you, Melanie, for the offer and for sharing with us about these amazing things that you get to go in and do with Child Care Network. So thank you for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
So that was incredibly exciting to hear from our guests today about what they are doing and about what services there are available for childcare providers in Indiana as you consider what you can be doing for your families, for the children in your care, and for your staff during this time. I want to offer up a few other opportunities for support before we jump into the questions that you may have. So there are additional learning opportunities coming out. One of the things that we have learned through this grant opportunity is that it really helps to be able to have additional times where we can field questions. So to this end, we've added on what we're calling our grant office hours. They are virtual office hours, and they're available through a Zoom link that is on the website for the Come Back Stronger Fund. And we're also sending these out to some of our applicants who we have questions or we have suggestions for what they can do with their application. And these are going to be every Tuesday and Friday now. I say every Tuesday and Friday. We are taking July 3rd off, but we will be doing this coming Friday, tomorrow, and then next Tuesday, and then moving forward from there. And they're going to be from 12:30 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. You can jump on for just a few minutes. We'll be fielding questions and answering, giving some tips and suggestions. And if our grant management team feels that you need a more personal touch, we can have a separate conversation individually with somebody who has a question. We're also going to be sharing out another awardee highlights webinar coming up on Thursday, July 23rd from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. And we highly encourage you to register for that. We'll have more of our awardees on sharing their ideas and what they've learned and what they're implementing during this time. As always, you can always follow us on our social networks, and we will continue to share out tips and awardee highlights. And then please email stronger@earlylearningindiana.org with any individual questions that you may have specific to your site. I would like to invite on Ryan from our grant management team now, who joined us at a previous webinar. And Ryan is one of our team members who helps us field all of the inquiries coming in and all of the inquiries going out, and helps ensure that our grantees and our awardees get everything that they need in order to get their grant funds into their hands. So Ryan's going to ask some of the questions that we got from the audience today. Hi, Ryan.
Good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. We do have one question, however, right now that we're going to ask, and I believe Becky is going to answer that for us. So, however, if you do have any questions, as Natalie said, please do go ahead and post those, and we'll get those answered for you as well. So based on the state recommendation, children should be 6 feet apart and not share materials. I'm worried about the new regulations in classroom settings. How is this going to affect their mental health? They cannot use center play areas and share with friends. So what would you recommend to kind of overcome these concerns?
Yeah, so I mean, I completely understand this. This is a concern for everyone. I mean, I myself have a 2.5-year-old who is very soon going to be going to school, and so I'm sure this will affect her as well. So my recommendation really to just keep in mind, how will our kids remember this time? You know, will they remember it as something scary or something that was just another fun part of school? So, you know, I recommend just trying to find ways to have your kids social distance that is a fun thing for them, such as, you know, have your kids imagine that they're in a bubble and they can't get too close to each other, or they might pop another person's bubble or something like that. That just sounds like another fun activity that they're doing at school, that, you know, they don't realize they're trying to follow an important rule to keep everybody safe from the virus. They just think it's a fun game. You know, another thing I heard that's kind of fun is a pool noodle actually is 6 feet long. And so someone suggested getting a pool noodle and like attaching it to like a belt or a head, something on your head or something, and everybody wears one, and then you can't get to where you're touching another person's pool noodle, and then you stay 6 feet apart from each other. So just something like anything like that that would be really fun for your kids, that is really going to help their mental health and just what their memories are of this experience. And then as far as centers or any activities that they're not allowed to use or share, what I do with my daughter, if there's something like we're out in public and she wants to do something that she can't do, I just tell her that the item is sick and we need to let it rest so that it can get better. And that works for her. I mean, older kids might need a little bit more of an explanation, and they may even just understand the actual reason why they can't, touch something or share something. But this really all comes back to what Sarah said about having a plan. And I think it's really important for a center to make a plan for this and everyone to just be on the same page so that the messaging is consistent throughout the entire school or center. So that's what I recommend for this.
It's great information to share, Becky. I love the idea of the pool noodles. I've heard or things like that. I would definitely add to that just to suggest that any provider, if you haven't already looked at that Delivering Care in a COVID-19 Environment Guide, it has templates in there for how to talk to, how to share information out with your families, or those checklists or those pieces. It's really made to help providers feel very competent and confident in offering care with these new recommendations. So, find out answers there, talk with the experts, talk peer-to-peer, ask how other providers are approaching it, and then definitely keep in mind that it's all for the kids. So make it appropriate for them and make it as fun as possible.
Thank you. Another one, some Indiana communities have been providing educational and training for conscious discipline. Are there plans to introduce early childhood teachers and directors with a systematic social emotional learning process through Come Back Stronger?
Well, I think that question would be to me. For Come Back Stronger Fund itself, the idea for the fund is for us to fund out to individual providers, and knowing that every provider is different, although we have the same goals for safety for our children and for our families, each environment may be different, and so the needs are different. So we're not doing a single effort that goes out to all providers because we want it to be unique to your site and to your families that you serve. So conscious discipline would be a great example of a way to engage your staff in understanding how to relate with children and families and how to understand and deal with some of the stress right now. But that would be a decision that an individual program and an individual site would need to make in order to ensure that they're able to do it with fidelity and with commitment. The Come Back Stronger Fund as a whole is going to fund the individual providers to make those decisions as they see best.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before Natalie closes? I do not see any direct questions coming in right now. I will go ahead and turn it back over to you, Natalie, for final remarks.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Sarah and Becky, for questions. Okay. Well, with that, I will say thank you for those of you who are able to join us today for our webinar for the Come Back Stronger Fund. We are incredibly excited to continue to award out the Come Back Stronger Fund grants to eligible providers across the state of Indiana. We are already hearing back from the providers who were awarded in the first few rounds how impactful this has been for their program. So I would say if you're a provider who has a site that is eligible that you have not yet gotten your application in for, we hit over halfway. We still have just under half of our funds left to give out, and we would love for every provider who are serving in high quality locations with their staff and their teams and serving families that are eligible, please get your applications in, because we would not want for you to miss out on this opportunity. If you are a partner or if you are a provider who has already been funded, make sure that those within your networks and your community know about this opportunity and how easy it is to access and get your questions answered from Early Learning Indiana. We've added on those additional virtual office hours because we do want to ensure that every eligible provider has an opportunity to apply for these funds. Because at the heart of it, we want to ensure that every Hoosier child has an opportunity to be in a safe, loving, caring environment that is meeting the new recommendations for safety, and ensuring that all Hoosier families have an opportunity to go to work knowing that their children are being cared for in such a location. So please email us with any of your additional questions at stronger@earlylearningindiana.org, and have a wonderful day out there caring for our youngest Hoosiers.